So we had the worst inflation in the history of our country, and now our inflation is down to a perfect number, a beautiful number, hardly any at all.
Headline number is whoppingly big. Oh my goodness, up 0.9%, up 0.9.
We have breaking news right now and a spike in the producer price level of inflation.
Wholesale inflation, so much higher than expected, Adam. What is this?
Not what we wanted to see, not what anyone wanted to see, but I think this is tariffs.
Because that's how tariffs work. And Trump, unfortunately, is the last person in the country to realize that. He claimed, as you saw yesterday, that it was down to a perfect number, barely anything. It's the highest that it's been since 2022. Maybe in fantasy land, the numbers are moving in the right direction, but unfortunately for Trump in America, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, at least as of this week, still puts out accurate information, and it doesn't uphold the idea that he wants to spread that his economic policy is benefiting Americans. And you saw the pundits there, but it's not just the pundits that are freaking out. The American people see what's happening, and the numbers are already moving very much in the wrong direction for Donald Trump. So we're gonna get to that, including all the new inflation numbers. But Cenk, I hadn't been expecting this. I was waiting next month for the jobs report. What was your reaction when you saw the inflation numbers?
Yeah, so the inflation numbers are bad. They're gonna have a number of consequences. One is that the interest rates will not be lowered as much as people were hoping for, because now the Fed's gonna get jittery about, wait, is inflation going to skyrocket? And if it does, you don't want to cut rates because that'll add fuel to the fire of inflation. So they're actually trying to protect the economy, but along with the economy, Trump. But is Trump the moron going to see that? No. He's going to be like, me want cuts. Yeah, but brother, your tariffs driving up the inflation. If you get what you want, it's going to be way worse for you. Right? And so what you're gonna see in this segment is, one, we're gonna tell you about all the ramifications of this and why I call Trump a clown. In that little short clip that we showed you, in about a minute, in the longer version of a minute, he has 3 spectacular lies. But I don't even know if they're lies. I don't know what's in his head. Like, does he think they're true? Because he doesn't know that much. And so, but all of this is gonna catch up with him. Number one is we're gonna show you here, it's catching up with him in the polling, and that's going to be a huge issue for the Republicans in the midterms and beyond, right? And number two, it's gonna catch up with him in terms of the economy, and the possibility of stagflation is here now. And I've got something that is not in the news that I wanna tell you guys about that in regards to unemployment. And I think that Trump is gonna, like, this is, okay, look, you've seen a million things he's done wrong, right? And there are a lot of things to be concerned about. But in terms of the economy and what decides elections, I'm spotting that iceberg. We're not, he's not gonna hit it imminently. It's not like, 2 days from now or even 2 weeks from now. But I can now on the horizon see the iceberg that Trump is headed straight towards. So we'll tell you more about that.
Yeah, and to be clear, it's not like Biden took control and didn't get us enough out of the path. This is him aiming at it. This is Trump like this. None of this needed to happen. This is all voluntary. But let me give you some numbers, and then we'll jump into the back and forth discussion. So what we're talking about here is the Producer Price Index for the month of July, the PPI, and that aims to track prices of all output from US producers. This includes goods and services that are purchased by other producers, sold directly to consumers, and exported to international buyers. It's less of an individual consumer thing and more of like a wholesale thing. And so in some ways, what it does is it gives us an early heads up of the sort of extra inflation that's eventually gonna hit the actual consumers. It tracks how inflation impacts consumer prices, but at the retail level. Sorry, that's the CPI. The PPI tracks it during the initial production of goods and services, one level sort of before it hits the actual store shelves. And here's what it found. An increase of 0.9% from the past month, 3.3% from a year ago, which is much higher than the projections had been. It was expected that it would be about 1/5 as much on a monthly basis and about half as significant from last year. But you could take a look at this chart going all the way back to 2021. And you can see that in fact, it's right basically on the level of what we were having in the middle of 2022. In the tail end of the darkest part of the pandemic, he has managed to shoot us all the way back up to that. And so that's sort of what we're talking about here. And think for a second what Donald Trump has been advocating for in the economy. Now, I'm not talking about like the tariffs that are causing a bunch of this, But who does he want to sack? He wants to get rid of Jerome Powell. Too late, Powell, who won't cut the rates. Not by like 0.25 or 0.5. Trump, just like a day ago, was like, it should be 3 or 4 points lower. Looks like maybe Jerome Powell wasn't too late in this case. Maybe, thank God, they didn't cut the rates in half a couple of months ago.
No, I mean, look, this is what I'm saying. Like, he might not be lying because he's just that dumb. Like, the idea of cutting interest rates by 3 or 4 points is maniacal. No one in planet Earth would even consider that idea. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. So
Not
like,
in what go over the course of 5 years, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, in one cut, I mean, that would be so drastic. It would lead to massive consequences. It's when you say things like that, what you're saying is, I don't know anything about the economy. Period. You should disqualify anything I'm saying because I'm a fool. It's like saying, I plan to have a negative 20% unemployment rate. And you're like, that's not a thing, man. It's just not, okay. So in that short clip that we showed you in the beginning, the longer version, first of all, he says we have perfect inflation. And then you saw the 3 people that but to be fair, that's fake news, right? No, those are all of his supporters, including Maria Bartiromo. And she's like, what the hell is going on with inflation? This is a huge number, right? So she, like, that's not the person who, like, she's trying to help Trump, but she's genuinely shocked by the number. And why is everybody so shocked about it, like a 0.9 or whatever? Guys, the markets are all about expectations. So when you're expecting a 0.2 and you get a 0.9, that's a giant number in that context, right? And he's talking about this is the kind of inflation numbers we saw as COVID was hitting and we were having massive supply chain problems. Those supply chain problems drove most of the inflation and got it to the point where the American people were so mad that they brought Trump back in. He's bringing it to those levels with no supply chain issues, with no outside natural disaster happening. He's just choosing this maniacal path. And as you're gonna see in a minute, it's clobbering his approval ratings when it comes to inflation and the economy, and that's the number one thing that people care about. Number 2 lie that he had was the foreign countries are paying us at record rates. Brother, how many times do we have to tell you, man? Look, you can make a different argument for tariffs, and you should try to make a logical one. I'm rebuilding the stealing companies in this country. All right, not exactly, but at least it's like a defensible argument, right? But when you say the foreign countries are, but they're literally not paying us. That's not how tariffs work. We've gone over this 2,000 times, and he cannot get it in his head. China doesn't pay you. The company that imports it pays the tariff, then usually passes it on to the customer. And what's happened now is for a little while, because he tacoed back and forth, they didn't, the full tariffs didn't start to hit. The second thing that happened was, he's like, you better not raise your prices, all the companies, otherwise I'm gonna have Kid Rock shoot up your beer cans or whatever, right? And so everybody's like a little skittish, and I said, it's not gonna hold. They're corporations. Corporations are in the maximizing profit business. So guess what they've gone back to doing? Maximizing profit. So they're passing the cost on to you now. And that's why you're saying inflation skyrocket. So that's 2 things massively wrong that he doesn't understand. And the third one is, he said, oh yeah, the tariffs have brought in billions of dollars, maybe trillions. No, not maybe trillions. We would notice trillions. It's not even close. He says outlandish things like, my people were like, here's an extra 29 billion. But we don't know where it came from. We don't know where the numbers are. We're all stupid, okay? And Trump's like, I bet it's the tariffs. This is his retelling, right? Like, we looked at the numbers, and sir, you're right. It is the tariffs. Come on, man. If that's true, fire your entire staff. I can show you exactly where the numbers are, and I'm not in the government. So look, we're gonna get to how this is hurting him. I'm gonna get to the unemployment disaster that's headed in our way. But Jordan, what do you think so far?
I mean, there's a couple of things I'm really worried about here. And first, like you mentioned, Cenk, the push to fire Jerome Powell is just like really concerning. They're trying to gin up these charges over, or these accusations over the reconstruction or the repairs to the Federal Reserve building. And this is to exert pressure. I mean, Cenk just laid out how this would be disastrous, how inflation would rise. It could potentially skyrocket if they were to drastically, or even to some extent, cut rates. If they were to re-implement quantitative easing, it wouldn't be helpful in this moment as much as some people might want it. And what they're trying to do is what we've seen all over the federal government. And that is to apply pressure and take control of seemingly independent aspects of our government, or in this case, an independent entity. It's a further encroachment of our rights, our institutions, the government, and he is ultimately chipping away at our democracy, as we're seeing in the takeover in DC, to some of the more boring and dry aspects of what he's doing. In this case, we should all be concerned. And the other aspect I'm looking at is how the right and talking heads on the right are trying to justify this or explain this away. And to some extent, it's really entertaining to watch how they are increasingly unable to justify these tariffs and maintain that there's no inflation, that everything is going well. Because it's like Cenk laid out, and as you saw on the SOT, they can't explain it. All they care about is dollars and cents. That's it. For a lot of these people in financial channels or at institutions or media outlets that care about money, it's impossible to ignore. And I'm getting a little bit of enjoyment watching them panic.
Yeah, and the funny thing is just knowing, like all the people around him, Basent, Lutnick, they all know what's gonna happen. They have to pretend that they don't. They all have to go on TV and pretend, oh yeah, no, I don't understand how trade deficits work. I don't understand how tariffs work or who pays, but they do know. So none of them are surprised by this stuff coming out.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.